How'd you first get the word about Keefe's home being raided?
Somebody DM'd it to me, and then a bunch of people DM'd it to me, and then text messages and phone calls started flying within that first hour, I think, of it, the story breaking. So started talking to people you and I both know, and trading information what we heard. It was pretty limited at first, but still pretty shocking initially.
Right. It's been so long. We've been trying to get the, I guess, you guys, Greg, and yourself with the documentary and solve
Right.
Las Vegas attention to kind of like close this case and finally make an arrest. How does it? First of all, how does it feel that we're kind of hopefully we're getting closer to this case being closed?
Feels great. I mean, it's been nearly a decade now because I started working on the film Murder Rap with Greg in 2013. So, and that's 2023 now. So, since I started making the film, which took a couple years to finish, it's been almost a decade-long journey to this point. And, I think most people got really cynical about it's never going to happen. They're never going to make an arrest. But I always felt like it was still possible. But even this last year or so, it started to be like, man, I don't know. And that's why a couple years ago, I put that one episode of Deep Dive out on Vlad TV that was all about, here's how this case is laid out and why isn't Las Vegas closing it. So it's pretty exciting now. It's not trying not to get too hopeful that they're really going to do it, but it's a pretty serious thing to serve a search warrant like that and to roll in with the SWAT team and everything like they did. So cautiously optimistic, I guess, is how I would put it.
Right. So I can't wait to talk to Greg, but I have the same question. Now, first of all, it's been what? How long has it been since '96? Over 25 years?
It's been almost 27 years since the murder. It'll be 27 years this September.
Okay, it's going to be about 27 years now. How does it work as far as law enforcement when they call it when they enter a home and search a home like that? Like, are they going to find some sort of evidence from back then? Like, how does that whole work? That's what I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody is wondering. Literally everybody that is thinking about this is wondering, like, what was the search warrant for? What was the goal? What are you going to find? This isn't even the house that Keefe would have been living in at the time that this all happened. He was incompetent at the time. So it is interesting to me, like, what information they had, because to get a search warrant, a judge has to sign off on that, as I understand it, and you have to present evidence and you have to show what it is you think you're going to find there. So I don't think they just went in wild, like having no idea what they were looking for. So there must have been some specific thing they thought they were going to find. So hopefully, we'll hear about that soon. I saw some reports. I think ABC News said that they really they took some magazines, some books, and I think some computers, and that's that's all. But also that's all that's been leaked to the public. Who knows what else they grabbed when they were there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, that's crazy, man. So let's say they do make an arrest. Like, how does it work as far as like, is he gonna go on because I know I've talked to Greg so many times about this. Like, how does it work as far as like, I don't think it'll go to trial. Like, how does it? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Greg earlier, and he can answer that question for himself. But I think the consensus maybe is that if an arrest happens, whoever they arrest, they probably would do a deal and not necessarily want to go to trial with it. But who knows? I guess it depends on how strong of a case they really, are able to put together. If the person that they arrest feels like they've got him and there's no way out of it, just make a deal, like Suge did, basically.
Right.
So I don't know if it could be something that's over, very fast. If they make an arrest and here's the case and we've got you and you better make a deal and the deal's good for right now or we're going to trial, then this could be over quickly or this could drag on. Who knows? It's hard to say. But I do feel like if you're going to, the media attention that this got, which was worldwide, a massive amount of media attention, and I don't think Las Vegas police is naive enough to be surprised by that. So I think they had to know before they did this, when this gets out, it's going to cause a lot of attention. And do you want to do that unless you're pretty confident that you're ready to move forward? And ABC News claims that this is being presented to a grand jury. I don't know if that's true. I think they're the only source reporting that. So it could be they're presenting evidence to a grand jury, and a grand jury will decide whether or not it should be prosecuted.
Wow.
As opposed to, just the DA or whoever, deciding to do it on their own, I think is the other option, how that would work.
Now, being that this case is so many years ago, and you got, I guess, Keefe's own words that could be used against his own statement that could be used against him. Do you see it like, honestly, don't you think he has a fighting chance if he takes it to trial?
I don't know. I don't think I'm enough of a legal expert about that to know to comment on that as a professional. But could it be argued that he was just boasting when doing these interviews? If the proffered statement that he made back in 08, 09 is not allowed in, which it probably would not be. That's the whole point of a proffer deal. Would they be able to do it based on what else they have? I don't know. But also, it's been 5 years since he first went public himself on Death Row Chronicles on BET, and they've been working on this case, I think, since then in those 5 years. So I don't think, that's a lot of time to talk to witnesses and find other evidence that you can make a case without using that proffer, and maybe even without just using only his own statements that he's made in these other interviews. So who knows? Who knows who else they've talked to and what those people have said. But I do know that, after Murder Rap came out and this became like public information, basically, this story, a lot of people that had always stayed quiet for, reasons of the street code or whatever, felt confident now and saying, well, if he's talked about it, I'm going to go ahead and tell what I know about it. And this is how what he said fits in with my story and what I understood. So I suspect that because of Murder Rap, maybe people are more comfortable talking about it than would have before. And maybe even more comfortable talking to law enforcement than maybe they would have before. Plus, people get older and wiser, maybe, and a little less wild, and maybe a little more mature and are more willing to, want to see justice done.
Right. Talk to me about
street justice never got done, so the only justice left is legal justice.
But in a way, street justice did get done, though, huh?
Indirectly, but it was, I think Orlando Anderson, who I believe was the shooter of Tupac, the killer, he died in a shootout that he supposedly instigated over a bad drug deal. So in a way, you could say the streets caught up with him, but it wasn't anybody on Tupac's side that was involved.
Right.
So some people might say karmically there was justice. Right. I don't know.
Right, exactly. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about your experience about, because I know you've been personally back and forth with Las Vegas PD over the years about closing the case and presenting whatever evidence you can to finally close this case. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so after I was involved with Death Row Chronicles for BET as a consultant, and that was the one where Keefe first did his first public interview where he agreed to go on camera and tell the story. And after it aired, I waited for it to air because I didn't want to, do anything that could mess with that production that they did for that. I didn't want to do anything that could prevent it from airing or anything like that. So I let it air, and then I reached out to Las Vegas Homicide just to let them know, hey, this aired and I was present, when the interview happened, and you should definitely check out what he had to say. And I've always maintained that they don't necessarily have to make an arrest, but they should at least close the case. Like, to go on pretending that you don't know what happened is kind of silly. And here's a guy telling you publicly that this is that he knows who did it, and he witnessed it, and it was his own nephew who did it, or at least his own crew who did it. Because I think when he did Death Row Chronicles, he wouldn't get specific then about who it was. He just said it was one of the guys in the back seat. Regardless, I always maintained you don't need to make an arrest necessarily, but you should close the case and not pretend like this is unsolved, because it isn't. So I reached out to a homicide detective that was, in charge of the case. It was a cold case, so it wasn't being actively worked at that point, to my knowledge. It's just every cold case has a case custodian. It's someone who is basically in charge of those files. It doesn't mean they've ever even looked at them before. Then detective and his sergeant came out to my house and interviewed me, and then started talking to a bunch of other people after that, and effectively, reinvigorated the case and started working it again. But that was 5 years ago. So, and I hadn't been in touch with there were, stretches there of months, if not, a year or two where I wasn't really in touch with the detective, and then something new would happen and we'd touch base again. So, yeah, and then there was the story from a few months ago or maybe late last year where they said that supposedly they'd gone to his house and he had lawyered up. I never got any, I don't know if there was any confirmation of that beyond rumor, but this time, there's video footage of the SWAT vehicles rolling down supposedly his street. So, anyways, that's a tangential story, but they, yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that I had something to do with this happening, but also a lot of other people have been pushing for it too.
Right. What do you think of Keefe's? You think Keefe's scared right now? What do you think Keefe? What's going on in Keefe's head right now?
I don't know. He's always very defiant. I remember, Reggie Wright Jr. and him got into it a little bit, a while back with Reggie saying that he was about to get arrested, and Keefe was kind of like, I think Keefe had this kind of bring it on attitude, whether that's bravado or that's really how he feels. It's not his first time facing prison time, so I don't know. Maybe he thinks he can beat it. I don't know if he's scared or not, but he did all this talking. He did all these interviews. He must have known that he was, pushing the limits a little bit by going out and talking about this as many times as he has, not just on BET but on YouTube. I can't imagine he's completely shocked. He put a whole book out that covered, also covered this case. So, I just can't imagine he's super surprised by this, and you would think maybe he'd be a little prepared for it.
Right, exactly.